All right, we are officially live and we have Ian in the house today. I'm super pumped, guys. He's been in the industry for 10 freaking years, and his superpowers, which I love and admire the most, is how he is very intentional and how he's positive, coachable, and willing to grow. So he's built a massive business on the space of social media, and I don't want to spill too much of the beans, Ian. So I just want to welcome you, and I would love for you to share your story with the audience. And I can't thank you enough for your time. I know you're an extremely busy human being.
Yeah, well, welcome. How are you doing? Thanks for hopping on, Michelle. Shout out from Miami. Great to see you coming in from Michigan. You just shared with me that you want to move to Florida in 5 years, so I'm excited to welcome you. Miami is a great place to live. It's booming. It's honestly paradise. You can get caught up in the craziness, but as long as you're focused and you stay in the suburban area, you will last, because most people do not last here. But really fired up. I've been in the industry now for 10 years, got involved when I was 20 years old. Thank the Lord that somebody told me about direct sales, because truly it's the gateway drug of entrepreneurship. And if for the first time in my life, I learned that it's possible to build a business leveraging the time and efforts of hundreds of other people. And I think that concept has then carried out throughout much of my life. Short story. I'm going to keep everything short because I know we don't have too much time here today. But basically, got involved in that company, had some fast success. Was really, really exciting of a ride. The company ended up getting shut down as an alleged pyramid scheme. But turning, lemons into lemonade, I actually had the CEO of the previous company on my podcast, the Damn Good Day Show, and it was like an exclusive episode, and it actually launched my podcast. And do I have something in my tooth right here? It's like killing me right there.
No, and I probably do.
That's my ADD speaking right now. But basically use that to launch my podcast, The Damn Good Day Show, interviewing entrepreneurs about happiness and performance. Alongside that, been involved in a lot of technology startups, including a company called TrueFace, was the first employee. We built that company to about 30, 35 people, then got acquired. It was a really exciting journey. And as of recent, like my main love is cigars.com. So we create custom B2B cigars for enterprises. So basically, if anyone ever has like a wedding or, a really cool corporate event and they want to show up looking like super cool, this is an example of one of our products. We partnered with Jordan Adler. I don't know if you know Jordan, the Mr. Beach Money. So
Yes.
we make products like this so that you can send a custom box to anybody anywhere in the US. So I love life. I love people. I love business. I love network marketing. And I owe it all to that. And I'm so excited to learn more about you, Michelle.
Yeah. So, Ian, I have to ask though, I mean, 20 years old being presented into the space of making money online. I know I think I was 18 and I was a hard no for 5 years. I mean, absolutely, there's no way. I don't want to be. I mean, my sisters and I have four sisters and I have a brother, and my parents were like, don't ever be that person. Like, go to college, get a degree. And I honestly had in the back of my mind that those were stay at home people or parents that wanted to make like $100 to get their nails done. Like, I never would have envisioned that this was what it was like, and that now 5 years after saying no, I said yes. And now I'm coming up on my 5 year anniversary. So
Ooh.
I had a lot of objections personally of why I was a hard no. But you being 20 and jumping in with both feet, what would you say were your top two objections to the industry, and how did you overcome them?
I don't think I really even had objections. When I first signed up, I signed up like an idiot, right? I was in college. A friend texted me saying I have something you'd be dank at. I had no idea what that was, but generally speaking, I was always pretty fired up on life. And they texted me and they sent me this energy drink. It was like this energy drink called Verve. The company was Vima, if anyone wants to look that up. And I drank the product. I thought it was amazing. I was so fired up. I went downstairs at the time. I mean, I'm 20 years old. I didn't really have much money. I actually took my dad's credit card and put the product on his credit card to sign up because I didn't want to wait. And then that morning I woke up and I was like, I'm the biggest idiot ever. I went downstairs. I'm like, Dad, my bad. Like, I'm returning this. He's like, you're an idiot. I'm like, I know. But then I got into it and I learned about the idea of compound residual income and that everyone could win. So in my mind, what was so exciting is the idea that everyone could win. I think my biggest objection was basically the fear of sort of having to go big if you're going to make it big. So having to prioritize that over like partying was really difficult for me early on. But eventually it became more of a thrill and more of an excitement to meet amazing humans and travel. And I mean, you've been in the industry, you know, like anyone can join network marketing. So you get put on some of the most wild, ridiculous adventures. And if that's like the type of personality that you have, where you like being thrown into interesting situations and figuring stuff out, then it's the best thing ever. But if you're extremely introverted, you don't like following the unbeaten path, anything besides what like society teaches you is just like not your thing, then it's going to be the farthest thing from your energy. So I think the biggest objection was just, how do I grow faster? How do I do this faster? How can I make sure everyone wins? How do I make sure that I don't screw anyone over? Like, those are the type of things that always went through my mind.
Yeah, that's so for me, I was, the partying thing. I had a daughter young, 24. So my biggest thing was, I didn't have a big social media, less than 200 friends, no Facebook, no Instagram, no TikTok, no YouTube. I'm sure you weren't born in this world with any of those either. And then my other thing was the time factor. I was a mom, young. I worked full time as an HR specialist. I owned a cleaning business. I have my cosmetology license, so I was doing hair, and I also waitressed for a friend. So I was like, how am I going to fit anything into my life like this? But what I found for both of those things, which I'm sure you can say yes to, is that if you literally have, especially you, how intentional you are with your time, 3 to 4 hours a week, you can make an additional $200 a week. And that additional $800 starting off for me and my family has been extremely meaningful. And the things like the social media and learning how to do that and being positive, coachable like you were and willing to grow, at the end of the day, no one's born on this planet being good at social media. It's a decision, right? And 95% of anyone's success is their mindset. So you have a decision to tell yourself that you can do this and that you're going to do it, and this is what you want, or you have the decision to tell yourself that you suck and that you can't and it's never going to work, right?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I'm curious for you. You said you didn't have any of the social media, you didn't have
No.
the podcast, you didn't have the brand. And I think a lot of people just stop right there. And too many people plan, and they just never execute. And that's the largest difference between people that think about things and do things. Doers get themselves in trouble, but it's easier to get yourself out of trouble many times than never starting in the first place. So
Yep.
what actually got you to make the Instagram and make the podcast and make the YouTube? Like, what was that moment for you that made you do it?
I caught the vision. I caught the vision of people who were in this industry who made a lot of money. And I just kept reminding myself that nothing was given to them. I had a lot of like, oh, that girl's so lucky in high school. She's got a nice car. Stuff was actually given to them by their parents. But when there's rock stars like you and John Melton and Michelle, all these people, like, they didn't just get there out of freaking luck. They're not just famous because they had a song that launched like Taylor Swift did. Like, they literally show up day in and day out, and they're vulnerable and they're consistent and they don't quit. And that's just something that I've always reminded myself of. And when I listen to you guys talk, I'm like, okay, it's not easy. And there's going to be some really freaking hard times. Do you quit being a mom? No. So why are you going to quit on a business? And I just continuously listen to these things. And when times get hard, and when I'm sitting here listening to other people's podcasts, I'm like, well, I want to be this person. So when is that going to be me creating that podcast? And then I get this really big nut in my stomach and I'm like, it's uncomfortable. It's time to do something. I'm going to suck at it. So I might as well create a show. When am I doing it? All right, I'm starting it next week. I'm doing it on Tuesdays. I'm doing it on Thursdays. And you're on your way. You know what I mean? Like, I started off at suck, but what I have to do it eventually, right? I got to keep up with times. I'm an entrepreneur. What's the alternative? Going back to corporate America and cleaning houses and being out of my home for 50, 60 hours a week and screaming at people while I'm stuck in traffic and hating my life? Never again.
I love that.
So I constantly remind that story to myself. You know what I mean? I like to ask that to people who don't leverage or supplement their income online, is what is the alternative? Right?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of really good stuff you brought up there. It's like, first of all, we all have massive egos. Like every one of us thinks to ourselves that people care about us so much, and they don't. And I mean it in like a good and bad way. Like most people aren't thinking about you the way you think people are thinking about you, which is makes it so hard to ever start, because it's just like, I remember when I first went on Facebook Live, like I was in San Diego at the time. I was 22. And I got so nervous before clicking go that I would get out and do a lap around the neighborhood. And I did that 8 times before I finally just clicked it. And I remember thinking that like, it might have been John back in the day, but I was like, I'm going to let him down if I don't do this. And it really just like messed with me. So in that sense, it's you against you. It's no one else. And like, you have to ask yourself this. And then the other sense, you built a brand. And I really like completely vibe with that, because the truth is, in today's world, you are what you present yourself as. So I love the idea of when you're in high school and you go to college, you get a clean slate. No one cares about who you hooked up with, where you were, what's going on. Like, you're a completely new person. And when you leave college, you're a completely new person again. And when tomorrow hits, you can be another new person. So you have to constantly reinvent yourself and ask yourself what you want to do. And there's like a saying, if you say what they say, do what they do, you get what they get. Like, I believe that's true as long as you add your own personal flair, because no one wants to hear someone else. They want to hear you. And then people always talk about the authentically you thing, which is difficult, because it's difficult to be authentically you when you know you're being recorded. It's very strange, but you have to put in the time. Like, I know with the podcast, like when I first started the podcast, no one was listening, no one was viewing. And I felt like an idiot. You're doing the podcast. What's going on? I'm coming with questions, and then 50 episodes down, 100 episodes down. Now I'm at 170 episodes. Now I come in with no questions. I'm relaxed. I'm chill. I'm relearning what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm trying to get better, because if I don't, I'll go nuts. Like, that's all I'll think about. I'll be depressed. I'll like talk bad about myself. So I think what you and I share in common, and for the people listening, is what are your standards for yourself? Because no one cares about what your standards are. It's all about what you care about, what your standards are. And if you can master those, eventually people will see you as the person that you're constantly putting out there, and the right peeps will come through. The good energy will start rolling, and you'll build that tribe that'll help take you to the next level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, heck yeah. I'm listening to Bob Proctor right now, and it's all about, literally getting a piece of paper and writing down, like right now in a quiet space with a cup of coffee, like what you want your life to look like. Do you know how many people probably that are tuning into this that literally have not done that since before they've had kids, before they've gotten married? Like, because you really can have it, and your purpose is not something that's within you. I love that he mentioned it's something that's found by listening to podcasts, by listening to personal development books, by meeting people like yourself, Ian, like meeting people like John Melton. Like, if I put who I was on this screen 5 years ago, you wouldn't even recognize me. I didn't show up like this 5 years ago when people were like, well, look at Michelle. I can't make money online because I can't go live. I didn't go live for 4 freaking years, so you better watch what you're saying.
Yeah, and you're killing it. I mean, like, you're the definition of someone that does the work, puts herself out there, has a million reasons why, running around like a maniac, like the Hot Mess Express. Yep. And you get it done, though. You get it done.
Ian would know. It's like, oh yeah, good. I got this going on today. Yep, let me. Yes. But I love it, and it's been things that literally are so out of my comfort zone. Like, public speaking was something that literally, like you walking around circles, I used to literally, not today, shut it down, not today. And then now it's like my superpower. I'd rather go live so I can reach. I have 3 devices in front of me right now. I have my cell phone. I have another iPad. I have a mini phone, and I go live on everything to try to reach to the world, to let people know how lucky we are that we have the freedom that we have to be able to do what it is that we want, and to be able to have also something called money, which money doesn't buy happiness, but we also do a lot of fun things and purchase things that we love with it. Right?
Yeah, I feel like the money thing, it's one of those things that there's so much fun things in the world. Like just so much fun things to spend money on. Obviously, money doesn't buy happiness, but I feel like you gotta like cross it off before you can really decide what does give you happy. It's kind of like the thing. I think there's a quote that says something about that you can't, something about like you don't see someone upset on a jet ski or whatever. Like a lot of the times you have to get rich to find out that it's not the answer, but you can't ever explain that to someone that hasn't gotten rich, if you would. But it's interesting because like some of my favorite people on this planet, like this guy I really, really look up to, Peter Taunton. He's a good friend of mine. He's a mentor. He founded the company Snap Fitness. They have over 4,600 locations around the world. Now he just co-founded Nautical Bowls. He's a beast. And I met him through my podcast, actually through this woman named Jen Gottlieb, who was on the podcast. And then she referred me to Peter. And like when I look at him, he's got everything you could ever imagine, the 70-foot yacht, the multiple supercars, but he is like Minnesota humble badass. He's the type of guy that I want to be when I grow up, right? He's the type of guy that is respectable, looks at you for a human being, right? And people that see you just for a money sign, those people just aren't real. They're just not good people. They're not good friends. And you have to be able to ask yourself, like, what type of people do I want to chill with? Because you can be like that person that makes money without being, like, for lack of a better word, a douche. And you can use it to like grow your life and have fun in life. Or you can use it as a vehicle for self-destruction. You get a bad drug habit, and next thing you know, you go all the way up and come all the way down. But complete pivotal note, sometimes people need that because it creates a damn good story, because everyone loves the comeback story. What do you think about that?
Yes. No, I do. I agree with that. And freedom financially comes different for everyone. It's like the mom who like literally now gets to be home with their children that before was rushing out the door at 5:30 in the morning and coming home at 6 o'clock at night and looking at her husband like, this is my life. And the kids are going to grow up at 18 and all you're going to remember is like how chaotic it is. But she's got the freedom now because of, the ability of network marketing, direct selling, social retail, whatever you want to call it, to be able to have that freedom now in her life. And I think a lot of people get caught off guard with that. They hear a lot of, financial freedom and this and this. And it's like, well, what is that for you? For me, it's like being able to be at the soccer field and not miss soccer practice anymore. And to be able to, if I have someone ask me a question, I can respond. You know what I mean? Like I look at that in a way more positive note than when I'm sitting in an office and my phone's going off and I'm in the middle of a meeting and I can't leave to go get my child off a playground. She broke her nose because I'm stuck in a meeting. So there's good and there's bad, you know what I mean? But I do agree with, be humble and be kind. So you being in the industry for as long as you have and having such pivotal moments, clearly, I mean, you guys used to have, home parties and Zooms and I know the company that you're with now, and I know you found your home, but what has been the one thing that's kept you a part of the puzzle that you haven't just dwindled away and said goodbye to this and gone off into other adventures? Like you're still here and it's been 10 years.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think just because I had my first experience, I learned that the grass isn't greener on the other side. That's the hardest thing to learn in MLM, because it's like you join a company, you go through it, you start having success, you don't blame yourself, you blame the company, and then you meet someone who's influential and then they make a big move and you get FOMO, so you make the big move with them and it's exciting. It's like a new relationship. Some people just don't like staying with the same relationship for a while. But it takes experience to know like what is and what isn't a good relationship, right? Like you have to go through bad boyfriends and girlfriends before you understand like what is the type that you want and what is just sexy and what's actually going to be toxic for you. And I think a lot of people don't have that experience, so they don't appreciate it. And they're looking for that next ride, that next buzz. I think they'll solve all their problems, that next pill. So like for me with Vemma, I built a 6-figure income in 13 months. I didn't build it stably because I was just a maniac. And I just thought it would grow forever, but I was young and dumb, and that's the time to make mistakes, right? So when I moved to this company, I am like the definition of not the target audience. Like I'm a 31-year-old guy. It's definitely more female based. MLM in general is more female based. But I really saw like the sticky things, like really solid corporate teams, people that don't have crazy drama that's going to like wake up one day and the whole company's going down because some chick posted something that's just going to blow up the whole company. Like basically like stability, and asking myself, who do I want to hang out with? Do I want to hang out with stable people that grow, or do I want to hang out with this emotional roller coaster, which is most get rich quicks, most pyramid schemes, most all of that? But I don't blame people because I was a part of a company that was legitimately a pyramid scheme, right?
So the company that you were with, I want to be clear, it was shut down by the FDA, correct?
Yeah, well, it's important to mention that because if you were to clip that, it wouldn't been the whole story. So Vima was shut down by the FTC as an alleged pyramid scheme. You can listen to this in episode 7 of the Damn Good Day show. But basically, what happened was they made certain claims where essentially you had to buy product to qualify, and that is in itself like a huge no-no. There's 50% of the industry was doing the same thing, but they were loud, obnoxious, and crazy about it, and they pissed people off. So they were the sort of like what's the word? The example for the industry. BK Barreco is a true freaking amazing person. Still one of my best friends. We send each other memes every day. And he took the hit. But what's crazy is that at that level of FTC investigation, they were at like a $227 million company. And then in 2 days, they went from 227 to -6. Can you imagine? Right? Like, even if you like did some like effed up stuff, like to actually experience going at that level and then being blasted by 4,600 news reports around the world calling you like the worst person ever, right? Like the commander of a pyramid scheme. Anyways, they ended up in a sort winning the case. They ended up only settling for a few $1,000,000, which at that level you can't win when there's that much money against you, against like the government. So technically, the FTC, my understanding from what I've heard from BK and the different stuff, is that technically it's the first situation that a company still survived after that level. And that just goes to show that this industry, like obviously there's been some corrections, but there's things that are being fixed and it's real. So that was just a quick tangent about that.
No, I love it. You're very well educated on that kind of stuff. And it's very important because when I was in a previous company, I was there for 4 years and I really thought it was my forever home. You know, you get into doing something like this and you're like, oh, yeah, fired up and let's go, let's go. And then as I was reading a book, I kind of like completely fell flat on my face after I read a chapter from one of the gals in it. And that led me to her page to stalk her. And then I stalked her for a few months. And then I came across, John Melton and Jordan Levesque. And I'm like, wait, both of these people have left previous companies. My goal was 6 figures. And I like worked so hard in my previous company. And then I just like, I caught the vision, like you said, like you can sit here and be this hothead and be like, oh, it's a startup company and this or that, or you can be with someone that's in various countries and it's been around for over 20 years and there's stability and there's clinical studies, there's hero products. And that's really something that I wanted. I've been in the toxic past relationship, bringing up kind of what you said. I really like that you said that because when I was in that abusive relationship and I went through the divorce and then you have something good, you really do realize, oh my gosh, this really is where everyone can win. So you couldn't have explained that any better. So I really do. And having someone who's gone through what you have gone through, I probably would have been like, I mean, that's another thing that I look up to people like you and John Melton. Like, you guys have gone through so much and you're still in the industry. And now, I mean, that's why I'm just so happy to see how stable you guys are and just how well you guys are doing both, together. And you couldn't have asked for a better business partner. Holy crap, I love him.
Well, you're such a good hype machine. It's awesome. You're so nice and kind, and I mean you're the real MVP here, right? Like what you've done is insane. Like you're actively building like a rock star. You're crushing it. You're one of the top people in the entire industry, one of the best leaders. You care so much. So don't sell yourself short. Like you're the real deal. But there's a lot of lessons to learn,
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. So, Ian, I just want to have you, if there's anything out there that you can, someone's sitting on the sidelines right now, and there's just anything that they're like, I really need to supplement my income, or maybe it's like, what if I could replace my income, or what if I could go part time and instead of being out of the home for 20 hours, I can be at work 20 hours, home 20 hours, but they're just so afraid and they don't think they can do this and they don't think they have it inside of them or they're introverted, which is crazy because some of the most successful people in the industry are introverts, just so you know. And also some of the most successful people in the industry are men like you and John Melton. So you guys are very special, amazing human beings. What do you have to say to them?
It's tough because everyone's so different. You know, everyone's so differently motivated. So at the end of the day, like you have to find out what motivates you. And
What
for
makes you tick?
me, you know, like for me, it's like imagine one day you've reached Valhalla, heaven, whatever you believe in, and you're sitting there in front of your maker, and they say to you, you know, this is the person that you could have become. And they show you like traveling the world, like providing for your family, speaking on a stage, or like having that orchid garden you love so much. I just bought a bunch of cactus the other day and I'm pretty fired up about them. Like you're able to, you know, get the big fish tank, or, you know, provide a home for your father, or like take care of your parents. But you didn't do it because you were scared of what people thought about you, because you cared so much about what that chick from high school's doing. And basically you were just controlled by some bad learnings about what the world is. So like for me, that motivates me, because it's not, I'm motivated because I feel like a piece of crap if I'm not doing something that makes me feel like I'm doing something different. Like if I do the same thing every day, I get very complacent very fast, and I actually get depressed.
Me too.
So you have to like really ask yourself like what motivates you. And then the second thing would be, one of the biggest objections is I don't have the time. So that's a good thing to know, because if you know you don't have the time, you can fix it. The people that are screwed are the ones that are still like in denial. You need to know what's holding you back. And if it's, I don't have the time, well, you need to fix that, because guess what? 10 years are going to blink by. You only get, like, the average life expectancy is 75 years. You get 75 summers, 75 winters, 75 falls. You know what I mean? Like the clock's ticking, and you have to ask yourself, like, what do you actually want to live that for? And if you don't have the time, you need to make the time. So how do you make the time? You leverage. You need to leverage other people. You need to leverage a virtual assistant. You need to leverage a personal brand. Anyone can build a personal brand in 20 to 30 minutes a day. It's not rocket science. You can just copy what people say in your own terms, and someone's going to vibe with it. You do that consistently, then you start attracting leads. When you start attracting leads, you can start converting them in that 1 hour you have a day. And what's great about that is you don't need the money, right? Like when you're part-time, you don't need the money. When you're full-time, you need the money. And then you have that energy to your team, and it's gross. So like I've always done this business part-time. You know, I have a full-time job. I run the cigar company. I do the podcast. I don't have it. I'm single. You know, I don't have any children, so I'm in a different bucket than most people, right? But still, like there's things in life that you can do. And I think the biggest thing, like the final lesson I would say, is besides the fact that part-time's better than full-time, for sure, like for sure, you should build part-time, and you shouldn't even quit your job until you're making the same amount of money in your part-time job, if not 1.5x what you're making, because then you'll quit without being like really commission breathy. That's one point I wanted to make. And the biggest thing is you can't have a victim mentality. Like you said one thing, like you're so impressed by maybe John or I, and I was thinking to myself about that. Like, I can't believe like you got up and moved, but it's almost like, well, what's the other alternative? Like sitting there in a Facebook group complaining with a bunch of complainers for the next 10 years? Like, dude, life moves on. Like life doesn't care about you. You need to make a difference. Like I lost so much money in crypto because of the FTX collapse. It sucked. Like not a good vibe. But you know what? Life moves on. You know, you can't dwell on that. Like, what are you going to do moving forward? I've made good investments and I've made bad investments. I've wrote checks to startups that have gone nowhere. I've made investments in real estate that have gone somewhere. Right. And now I'm trying to take everything I've learned to hopefully make smart decisions in the time I have left with on this planet and meeting great people. So my biggest thing is, don't be a victim. Change the way you think about things. Get a mentor. Find someone that's doing what they're doing, and just start trying. If you get one video a week, great. Eventually you'll move to 2 videos a week. You know, just start doing something. I'm learning Spanish right now, Tuesdays, Thursdays at 8:30 a.m. And let me tell you, every time Spanish class comes around, I'm like, this is such a pain in the ass. I'm like, this is so inconvenient at this time. And then I remind myself, like, no, I need to learn Spanish because I'm in the tobacco industry, and I need to be multilingual because that's going to make me a more interesting person and make me have better experiences. but after you start doing it over a while, you're going to start getting better. So those are a couple of keys. And I would
You
love to
hit
hear
it.
your,
I love it. You said it. Every day. You know what I made myself do? I made myself be a freaking fitness instructor because I don't want to work out, and I make myself teach a class every day at 9:30 a.m. so that I have to go to the gym, get in front of an audience, and teach a class so that I work out consistently. And every day, I don't think I don't have to do that. I do not have to work. I don't think why. I don't think how am I going to do this? I think why. So I stay young and healthy and fit. And so I show up and tell people and show people that no matter what, you can find an hour a day for yourself. Now, this whole 20-minute workout crap, you can find an hour a freaking day to shut your phone off. And I love that you say that. And there is no victim. You are the victor. And that's what I love. You are a victor, not a victim. And you are not, how am I going to do this? You are, why am I going to do this? And you are going to be speaking Spanish on your podcast all over the freaking world. You watch it come.
Yeah.
Ian, you are a rock star. I can't thank you enough for your time. Can you guys like smash the heart button and throw Ian some love? Ian, let him know how they can get a hold of you. And you guys make sure you're tagging your upline, downline, sideline, someone who's out there that this could help them like take their foot that's like in the dirt and help them lift it up, because we all know that we know someone out there who could use this.
I love this, Michelle. Thanks so much for having me. You're the best. I appreciate you. Anyone wants to continue to follow the vibe, you can find me on Instagram, just Ian Lenhartz, or any podcast, The Damn Good Day Show. And we'll go on. But thank you so much for having me. Seriously, you're a rock star. You're the great example of just making it happen. Like, reach out to people, collaborate. That's how things happen. And if you don't make the first move, nothing is. You got to put yourself in a position to get lucky. That's what I've always done my whole life. But if you're not putting out content, you're never putting yourself in to win the lottery, if that makes sense. So Thank you for having me on, Michelle. This was so fun.
All right. Bye.